Yeah, no, hopefully that one will move a little bit quicker because my day could be very, very long with the undercard as described there. Now, this is all just appetizer for what is a very tasty main event, 136-pound catchweight fight. Anyways, with Ryan Garcia taking on Gervonta Tank Davis in what is a real battle of young, charismatic, hard punching fighters with a heck of a lot of potential in them. And Steve, I'll give him credit here. Is you don't oftentimes see fighters that are this young taking on each other, kind of still technically when they're on the maybe on the come up and building their star. You know, this is something that might be years down the road, but damn it, they're doing it despite all the different weird stipulations going into this fight. And this one is the first of a series of fights that we're going to have over the coming weekends that are going to be absolutely exceptional for the boxing fans.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's fantastic. I think it's not before time. Davis, stepped up, 28 years of age, 28-0 now. Massive puncher, as is Garcia, both very fast. Garcia's probably a little bit quicker. Davis probably hits a little bit harder. As I've said before, Davis is a very underrated boxer. He's not just a one-punch knockout merchant. He's skilled, he's talented. He showed against Isaac Cruz. He can slow the pace down. Garcia showed before that if he has to go running after people against Emmanuel Tagoe, he's maybe not as composed, can't get the left hook off as quickly. So it's in Gervonta Davis's interest, to slow the pace right down, step off, and make Garcia come to him. There are a lot of different dynamics, very interesting dynamics to this fight, not least the two fighters themselves. They both had problems outside of the ring. Garcia obviously has been away through mental health breaks, people casting aspersions on what he's been up to. He's had personal issues as well. Davis, very much been slapping the missus around. He's knocked over the pregnant woman as well. So he's a bit of an odious character, more so than Garcia, I would say. They both bring very unique fan bases. Garcia sort of taps into that Oscar De La Hoya teenage girl fan club, really, fan base, social media and all that. Whereas Davis is the kind of black hip hop, whatever dynamic you want to call it. He packs out crowds and he brings people in as well. So they're both ticket sellers. They're both money men. In the corners as well, Calvin Ford. I think he was a former drug dealer who was in prison. He's turned his life around up against Joe Goosen. We all know about Joe's background in the sport as a trainer and a commentator and his family. So you got the sort of strategist there working things out. I think Calvin Ford's an underrated strategist. Me and Rob spoke last week about Davis keeping his head. He can get distracted sometimes, but I think in this fight he's going to be 100% on the ball. One other dynamic as well I'll mention just quickly before I shut the hell up is De La Hoya in Garcia's corner. How much he had to do with this fight, I'm not so sure. He's a bit of a liability these days. The whole Golden Boy setup. He's got Bernard Hopkins maybe giving Garcia a bit more sound advice. And then you've got the whole Floyd dynamic as well. Has Floyd and Gervonta Davis split up, or is it just
I think Floyd told him that he couldn't train at the Mayweather gym. I think that's a very interesting point.
Wonder if they're still in contact though. I know Elena Delaby's still hanging around there. Wonder how much the split. I think Davis will be I don't know, he'd probably be better off for not having Floyd poking around in the corner, but he's done his business now and he's brought more eyeballs to him. But anyway, as for the fight itself, I think it's going to be fast. I think it's going to be explosive once it gets going. I think for the first 2 or 3 rounds, it could be quite cagey, quite pensive. They're both going to be very dubious and wary of each other's power and each other's speed and ability to land shots. But ultimately, I'm a Tank fanboy. I think he will catch up with Garcia, and it might be quite early as well. But that I don't want that to sound as detrimental as it is. I don't think Garcia is a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination. And if Davis knocked him out in 5 or 6 rounds, which I think he might do, that doesn't mean that Garcia is shit, because he's absolutely not. He's a proud guy. He's a tough guy. And I think he's tougher than people give it credit for. And he will stand at times with Davis, and I think that'll be his downfall. Once Davis catches hold of you, he doesn't let you off the hook. And I think Garcia's chin's going to be there for all to see. And I think around the 6th or 7th round, he could just get rid of him. Although for the second little picker, you just never know. It could be a real tentative affair that goes the 12-round distance. And we're sort of kind of saying, oh, I thought Davis won. Or I thought Garcia won. If it doesn't explode, but I think that'll be very unlikely. And I imagine someone's going to get knocked out.
Man, wouldn't that be a shame for this fight to have such build-up and hype to actually happen and then be a 12-round dud?
Yeah, and a contentious one. You just, at the end, I just have that feeling it could be one of them.
Let it be a draw, and just piss
Oh,
everybody off.
yeah.
Just a boring 12-round contentious draw. That sounds just like boxing to me. But making it just in time for the call. Rob, I dragged this out as long as I could because I knew you wanted to talk about this fight. Ryan Garcia against Tank Davis. Now, you have had some of the same reservations I have about just biting full-fledged on a Tank Davis victory here. Why don't you go more in depth into what your hesitations are?
You just fucking broke up, bastard. Hold on, you can hear me okay here, though?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just fine. I can hear you.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one for me to call, really. I obviously the smart money's on Tank. Knockout power. He has by far the better resume. I mean, Garcia's barely fought over fucking 5 years, really. Like, I think the max he's fought is 3 times a year, and that was like fucking 4 years ago when he was renegotiating his Golden Boy contract. So inactivity might play a factor. Tank is more active. Tank's resume is good to a point, I think, but he's probably been a little bit developed. I'd say that he's been developed in the right stable before facing any. So neither of these guys have faced the top guys at 135. I think that has to be fucking stated for firsthand on their rise up and winning their world titles. Or I guess he hasn't won a world title yet, but they're on their rise to notoriety, I guess, and pay-per-view status. So it's a massive fight for the sport, but I just don't know how it plays out yet. Like I said, I think smart money's on Tank knockout, but I from the minute that Garcia was calling Tank out, I had a sneaky feeling for him with the size and the left hook. Now, I could be completely buying into the Ryan Garcia hype train, but I see him causing Tank problems similar to the way Raleigh did, but he hits a lot harder than Raleigh, and he's probably a better fighter. Now, I know Tank is just having a look at Raleigh. Cruz was able to find him too. He was able to hit him. Davis has showed his beard against smaller guys, but Garcia is very fucking big. Like, he's a legit, I think, 140 frame. And I know he fought Barrios up at 140, but he offered very little in terms of offense, in terms of explosive power. It's going to be a different proposition. So I fucking just do not know which way this played out. I'm out of the Nutters League, by the way, for the predictions. I fucking forgot to fill in the fucking form on week 2. So I'm like Mayweather after he fought Marquez, and I'm going to retire for a year and come back and knock out all bums.
Don't give up.
Well, I'm out of it now, though, because I've missed 2 predictions. Well, I would have got them both wrong anyway. I suppose everybody would have got those wrong last night, the Zilly Zang one. So
everybody did. The leader has 9 points right now, Rob.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'll come back into it. I think I fucked up the first week as well. Anyways, aside from the fuck the Nutters, fucking get a life, everybody in the fucking Nutters prediction league. But I can't confidently call which way this fight goes either way. Now, again, optics might be everything here. We might be looking at this next Sunday and Tank evaporates him in 4 rounds and Garcia. But I just think I don't think he's coming to lie down. I think he's supremely confident. I think he has in his head, him and Goosen have devised a plan in a way that they think they can beat Tank. And I think Tank will show some boxing in this too. I think there'll be moments where I think he'd respect Garcia. I don't think he'd just go in flagrantly. He might show a little bit more head movement. It might be boxing, but it could be a cagey one. It could be a cagey one up until round 8. I think I'd have I just don't know till I see them in the ring. Honestly, I can't. I imagine with the Gervonta Tank Davis knockout, but I would not be surprised if Garcia fucking pull something out of his wazoo for this one. Something spooky going on.
Something spooky going on, says Rappin' Rod Kelly. Andy, I saw a video earlier today with Raleigh Romero, who has fought Tank Davis, obviously.
There wasn't much of a consequence.
And he's sparred Ryan Garcia, and he says that Ryan Garcia punches harder than Tank. Maybe he's just being an ass because he's ashamed about his knockout loss to Tank. Yeah. But Raleigh says, yeah, I know. But Raleigh says Ryan Garcia punches harder than Tank. I mean, and I know you don't weigh that very much, but what are your thoughts on this fight? Would you be shocked if it goes 12?
Well, I was actually listening to what Steve was saying there, and I'm kind of like thinking along the lines of, yeah, it's going to be a stoppage, but then he drops a wee caveat that it could also be a 12-round dud. Hopefully, no, mate. It's a wee bit like the Oscar Trinidad fight, if that were the case. You know, you've got two young guys here who are relatively close to the physical primes, basically. So it's huge respect to the to us as fans and to the sport in general that they're willing to put on, which is probably a generational clash this fight. To be fair, the winner of this fight. I mean, Tank's got a massive following. He's filling out arenas. He's doing good numbers at pay-per-view. I understand. Ryan Garcia has got, I don't know how many followers on social media and that, but he's got millions of followers. He's got a name, he's got a following, he's got a brand, all that type of stuff and that. So, the winner of this fight is going to be the face of boxing, for the next 10 years possibly. Both have got KO power, big followings, as I mentioned. I just think when it comes down to it, possibly I think it's going to come down to who can take the best shots. And I think it will be down to, I think Garcia is okay, he's quick. I've yet really to see him to be properly tested. I know he got dropped off Luke Campbell and he came back fantastically well. But Luke Campbell, I've never really probably appreciated as a fighter as such. And I don't think he really had the dog in him. I think Davis is completely different. He's got that Tyson-esque ability to kind of intimidate. He is apparently going into this fight, he's going to be respecting Garcia. He's going to be cautious. So I'd imagine it'll be quite a tentative opening 2-3 rounds. He'll definitely be watching it for that left hook, which is the money punch of Garcia's. And I don't know if Raleigh's really trolling as such. But at the end of the day, when you're watching some of the videos, training videos, you can tell that Garcia's left hook has got very good power behind it. I just think the way Davis just put his shots are put together and that as well, is he can just chip away at you, and in the end he can just turn your lights out, drop you dead on the spot, basically like he did to Leo Santa Cruz. And obviously with Garcia sometimes leaving his chin up in the air and that, I think that could also be to his detriment. So all kind of really hinges on actually who's willing to take the chances, i.e. land the big power shots, who can be defensively responsible against those power shots, and who can hold up to it. I think Garcia's got a wee bit of fragility compared to Tank, who I think maybe kind of soft to the body possibly. So there's that to it as well. Can Garcia land the left hooks upstairs and down? Intrigue. This is what we want, but at the same time, as I think it all says the same when everybody I'm speaking to seems to think that Tank's going to win by stoppage. So yeah, I'm going to go along with that. I'll say Tank does it inside. I want to say inside 9 rounds.
Interesting, because the over/under is 7.5 rounds, Andy. So interesting that you say that. That's right on the number they're kind of putting it. Like I've said before, I think a lot of this is going to come down to ring IQ. That's why I'm interesting. It's like both of these guys have power. The question is which one of them is going to be able to create the opening to land that power. And Steve, the scorecards were very close with Isaac Cruz, but I wouldn't want to look at that fight for kind of why I would worry for Davis a little bit in this one, because Cruz just such different dimensions than Ryan Garcia, right? I would look towards the first half, 6-7 rounds of the fight against Mario Barrios before Tank was able to land that knockdown in the 8th round. That was a very close fight. And Barrios, it was Barrios won 4 of the first 7 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards.
Barrios was twice the size of him, though. And I mean, I thought that once his power caught up with him, he would beat the shit out of him. He does lose rounds. He lost rounds against Raleigh. I thought he was losing rounds against Hector Luis Garcia, although the judges didn't seem to think so. The Cruz like a Maidana character, wasn't he? He came in place of Raleigh at short notice. Davis hurt his hand, etc. I think he just caught him by surprise. And he was cleverer than you thought as well, Cruz. He's not just a one-dimensional slugger. He showed little nuances, like throwing the right hand to the head 2 or 3 times. And then when Davis was expecting it a 4th time, he went down to the body. He's no mug, and he was just overwhelming him. And he had no respect for Davis's power, although that could have been to do with the hand injury, although you can't use that as an excuse. At the end of the day, he couldn't keep him off him, but he did show dimensions, Davis, and box him. skills. I would say like the Gamboa fight was more worrying to me because he kind of went through the motions against Gamboa until the last round when he got rid of him. That was a bit of a damp squib, but he's going to have to be turned on, isn't he, against Garcia. Santa Cruz as well, I think ruffled him up for a couple of rounds, but you're talking good quality, experienced fighters.
Santa Cruz is much smaller, though. So Mario Barrios, 6 feet tall, 71-inch reach. Ryan Garcia, 5'10", 70-inch reach. You got to remember the way Barrios was working that jab earlier. That was the struggle for Tank. Garcia, especially with the way Tank has been fighting more on the back foot lately, Steve, I think that fight getting into Tank's range depends more on Garcia reaching than it does in Tank walking him down.
It was a struggle for Tank, but also the fights are fought over 12 rounds too. And I get what you're saying, but I know people made that point with Rolly. Oh, he was losing rounds against Rolly Romero, but then he like banged him out in the 5th round. He's going to lose rounds. That's the way he does, isn't it? I mean, you can dress it up as much as you want. He's lazy, he's lethargic, he's downloading the data, he's biding his time, he's watching the moves, blah, blah, blah.
Downloading the data.
I do think he's a thinking fighter. He looks for patterns, doesn't he? Like,
where are you after getting that out of Steve? You know, he's not a deep thinker, obviously. Where are you getting that from?
Oh yeah, he's not a deep thinker. Well, I mean, out of the ring, like I said before, he's thick as a dungeon door. But inside the ring, he is a good thinker. I reckon. Against Santa Cruz, he was watching his moves, looking at the way he was moving off to the certain sides, and then he unleashed an uppercut from hell to get rid of him. He watches the way you're going, your footwork, your patterns, what you're doing with your hands. I honestly do think he is a thinking fighter. And against Barrios, he knew that he was going to be the much smaller man, but they'd obviously psyched him out before. They saw what Akhmedov was able to do against Barrios, and that was what gave me confidence that they took that fight for a reason, because it would look impressive against a bigger guy from a bigger weight, winning another phony world title. And they knew that Barrios was susceptible and wasn't that good. So Tank punches like a couple of weight divisions higher, so they knew they were going to get to him. Once he started touching that body and working out Barrios' moves, he just beat the shit out of him. And that's what I think. He's just a thinking fighter. Once he gets into range, and everyone says, oh, he's so small, but he has those big long arms and explosive ability to catch you. And if he hits you flush, then you're going to go. So I would be confident that he'll catch up with Garcia at some point.
I thought he was a bitch with T-Rex arms.
Oh, well, maybe he is, yeah.
You know, some people, Rob, will point to the potential of this just coming down to who has more dog in him, and they'll point to Gervonta Davis being Baltimore. Very tough town.
We don't know.
Well, hold on here. But Ryan Garcia, Rob, is from Victorville, California, scene of the now infamous Bob Sheridan getting chased down by motorcycles while in his Corvette. This is not a place to fuck around, and that's Ryan Garcia's hometown.
Well, I'm sure somebody got that, but
You don't remember that one?
I can't remember what happened yesterday, dude. Fucking my memory's hazy at the best of times. I think I don't know. This you're making a good point, because I can't remember a fight in recent memory where I'm just as intrigued about what both fighters are going to be like if they get hit by the other one. You get me? So like Garcia has real power, Davis has real power. Like, what's it going to look like if Garcia lands a couple of those left hooks on Tank early? Like, what way is he going to react, and what happens if Garcia can stand up to Tank's power? What happens then? Like, what way does the fight play out then? Because a lot of times Garcia or Tank relies on figuring a guy out until he actually catches him. What if he figures him out, drops rounds, and then when he does catch him, it doesn't have the effect that you thought it would? Like, so there's loads of little possibilities and little ways that the fight could go, but it's a very, very exciting contest, and it's good for the sport that these two are the ones that are putting us. So I hope the fight really delivers. Steve is making me nervous now saying it might be a dud, but I hope it really, really delivers, because it's going to do massive numbers. Like, you know, we mentioned years ago on the pod, Garcia is in a different stratosphere on social media. Like, and like, social media means nothing to us because we're outlads. Like, but you know, like, he's making these videos with like Dixie DeMilo and all these, like, fucking, he's up in all territory in terms of numbers that he draws. So
you're right.
I'm going to be really interested to see what the gate is.
The first guy really since De La Hoya to get that like kind of teenage girl audience, right, Rob? It's a really uncommon boxing
for boxing
audience.
Like, I suppose like the Tommy Fury over here, like with the Love Island thing with the young ones and all, they all love Tommy Fury, like, but it's like that by a million over in the States. Oscar's there, Leonard is there, like fucking tanking him, unbeaten records, big punchers, fucking really good production on the Showtime All Access, getting everybody bought into it. So I really hope it delivers, and I'm happy that it's these two that have come together to make the fight and make a big fucking fight for the outsiders as well. Outside the usual fucking names, like, you know, we get fed up with the fucking AJ Canelo and Fury holding up the fucking boxing world with their fucking and with their bullshit. Like, these two got together. They fucking talk shit at each other, but now they're coming together to make the fight. So let's hope it delivers. I honest to God, I don't care who wins as long as it's a really good fight, because I think it's going to draw a lot of people into boxing. Like.
Yeah, and it's so important that the fight delivers. I hope that they taken the how important this moment could be for not just for them, but for the sport of boxing. And how much it needs it right now, you know, in much the way that Taylor and Serrano gave it all when it mattered most for their sport. Hopefully the guys do it on their end here.
Any confirmation about UK TV for this one yet, no? Did anybody say?
Yeah, DAZN. DAZN.
Is it definitely DAZN in the UK?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, well, I'll just need to download it in the morning then.
DAZN or DAZN pay-per-view?
Nah.
No, it's on normal DAZN. We've clarified this.
I think that's only fair. I think that's only fair. I mean, given like something's coming on at like 6 o'clock in the morning for you or some shit like that, like to ask people to pay for something, it's like that's fucking ridiculous.
People wouldn't pay for it. That doesn't move the needle in the UK. No one gives a fuck about Gervonta Davis or Ryan Garcia. No one would pay for that at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No one gives a fuck about Gervonta Davis in the UK. Okay.